Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Annabeth and I'm so glad you are joining us today. Have a bit of a different video for you all. I am filming my first tutorial today, and this tutorial, oh bye Charlie. This tutorial is going to be for the short row heel that is featured in my latest design. These are the Moonrise Socks. As I'm filming this, they are still in testing, and I am hoping to release them in February of this year, of 2024. So if you're here from the future, post pattern release, thank you for buying my pattern. And if you're just watching this on YouTube, hello, buy my pattern. No, just kidding, only if you want to. So I'll show you more of a close-up later. Wow, these have a lot of fuzz on them. Oh well. I'll show you a bit of a close-up in a moment here, but these are a garter stitch heel. Then it's a short row heel and it's styled after the shadow wrapped heel. So the tutorial today is going to be for this garter stitch version. If you want a tutorial for the like regular stockinette shadow wrapped heel, I highly recommend popping over to Earth Tones Girl here on YouTube. Denise has an amazing tutorial for the shadow wrapped heel. It's how I learned the shadow wrapped heel when I first used it, and it kind of became my favorite short row heel, so highly recommend her tutorial. This one is going to be for this garter stitch one. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it then. Alrighty, so here we are. I thought first I would give you kind of a bit of a comparison of the stockinette shadow wrapped heel compared to the garter stitch. This is my second sample of the Moonrise Socks. Thought it would be a better example than the well-loved so far first sample. Anyway, so as you can see here, I have not blocked my second sample yet, so it may look like the garter stitch version is a lot smaller than the stockinette version, but that's really just because if we think about how knit stitches are made, it's kind of like one on top of the other in stockinette, but then when they're in garter stitch, they're kind of linking like that, so it makes a bit more of a compressed fabric. So that's really the only reason it looks smaller while you're knitting it, but once you block it out and once you wear the socks a bit more, as you can see, it pretty much becomes the same size because those ridges in the garter stitch separate a bit more and just, you know, flatten out a bit with wear. So yeah, that's kind of what the two look like next to each other. So rather than show you how to make this heel on this dark yarn from my second sample, I do have a bit of spare knitting here with a much lighter color. So I'll just show you how to make this heel. Yeah, let's just get into it then. There we go. Wanted to adjust so it was a bit more of an overhead shot than that angled shot. So what I have here is 56 stitches on this needle, so that corresponds to size number 1 of the pattern. So we have 56 stitches total, 28 on each side between the two markers. And then just to orient ourselves, this little like not even an inch of knitting that I've done so far corresponds to the bottom of the leg right here. So right now we're at this point on the sock with the sample knitting. All right, so let's get into it. So there's really two ways that you make these short rows. The first way is only used on the first row of the heel, and then the second way is used on every other row. So how we do it the first way, and that's really just because when you're starting out with the very first row of the heel, you don't have any purl bumps from knitting on the other side and garter stitch yet, so that's why the first row has to be a little bit different. So to start, we are just going to knit until 1 stitch before the halfway marker over here. So we're just going to knit across to 1 stitch before the marker. All right, we have arrived at the first stitch before the marker. So what we're going to do for this first short row is we are going to make a twin stitch in this stitch. And how we do that is we take our right hand needle and we pick up the right hand leg of the stitch below. So right hand needle going to the stitch below, the stitch that's currently on the needle, picking up that right leg. And then we place that leg back on the left hand needle. You're going to want to kind of use your thumb to keep these two loops separate, just to help with the next step, which is knitting into that stitch you just picked up again. And then you slip that loop back onto the left hand needle. So now if you look at it, you can kind of see there's 2 loops, 2 stitches coming out of that 1 stitch below now, and that's why it's called a twin stitch, because it's 2 loops coming out of 1 stitch. And that's how we do that on this side. So we're going to go ahead and keep the twin stitch on our left hand needle and just turn our work and bring the yarn to the back to knit across again. So that was the first row. So that's the only time you are going to use that version of the twin stitch making. Every other row is going to use the version that I'm about to show you. So we're going to go ahead and knit across again to the first stitch before our beginning of round marker here. Okay, so we have arrived to the first stitch before our beginning of round marker. So as you'll see on this side, we do have the purl bumps as opposed to the V's on the other side. So how we do this twin stitch and how we'll do every other twin stitch from here on out, we are going to bring the yarn forward as if to purl. And now we are going to slip this stitch from the left to the right. So we're not purling into this stitch yet. We are just slipping it over. And now using our left hand needle this time, we're going to pick up the stitch below. So on the other one, we used our right hand needle. On this one, we use our left hand needle. So we are going to just pick up the loop directly below that stitch. So left hand needle to the stitch we just slipped, picking up the loop directly below. And now you are going to purl into that loop you just picked up. So if we were to look at it from the other side, we would still see the 1 stitch with the 2 loops coming out of it. And then we slip both loops of that twin stitch back to the left hand side and turn our work. So like I said, that is how we are going to create the twin stitches from every row here on out, because now we have purl bumps to grab on the right hand side. So I'm going to show you that twin stitch method 2 more times on the right side and the wrong side before moving on. So this time we are going to knit across to the first stitch before the first twin stitch we made. So we're not knitting to the twin stitch, we're knitting to the stitch before it. Alright, so we've arrived at the first stitch before our twin stitch. So now we are just going to do exactly what we did on the other side. So bring the yarn forward, slip that stitch from right to left. Using the left hand needle, pick up that loop, purl into the loop, slip the stitch back. And there we go. I'll show you that one more time on the wrong side. So now, again, we're going to knit across to the first stitch before the twin stitch. Alright, we've arrived at that stitch again. So one more time, we're going to bring the yarn forward as if to purl, slip the stitch, pick up the loop, purl into the loop, and slip both stitches, both loops, I guess, of the twin stitch back on the left hand side. So now I've shown you how to make the twin stitch 3 times. So now you are going to continue, and if you're making size 1, like I kind of am here with 56 stitches, so the heel is across 28 stitches, you're going to keep going until you have 10 twin stitches on either side and 8 single stitches in the center. If you are making the 64 stitch size, so size 2, it would be 11 stitches, twin stitches on either side, 10 singles in the middle, and if you're making the 72 stitch size, so size 3, it would be 12, 12, and 12. All right, so I will meet you back here when we are done creating our twin stitches with the short rows. All right, so we now have our little, I don't know, isosceles trapezoid of short rows done. I have 10 twin stitches on this side, 10 twin stitches on this side, and 8 single stitches, untwin stitches in the center. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be slowly increasing our rows to make a matching trapezoid for the other side of the heel. And how we're going to do that is it will be a matter of knitting twin stitches together and then creating triple stitches, or basically like twinning the twin stitches. So I'll show you how to do that again over probably 4 of the short rows before moving on to what we do at the end. So what we're going to do is we are going to knit across our center stitches and stop before our first twin stitch. Seven, 8. So we've hit our first twin stitch, and we are simply just going to knit this twin stitch, both loops together, just like a regular knit 2 together, just like that. And now this next twin stitch is what we are going to turn into a triple stitch, and we follow the same process we did to make all of these twin stitches, but we have to treat this twin stitch like a single stitch. So that's why I said we were kind of like twinning the twin. So we bring the yarn forward, slip both loops of the twin stitch, you're treating it like one, to the right hand side, pick up the loop below, and purl into it. So now we have 3 loops coming out of the stitch below, and there is our triple stitch. And we slip it back and turn our work. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side and knit across to our first twin stitch. Alright, we're to our first twin stitch, so we knit the twin together and create the triple stitch. So bring the yarn forward, slip, oh, it's getting a little tricky now, pick up the loop below, purl into the loop, and slip now all 3 loops of the triple stitch back to the left and turn your work. As you can see, my needles are getting a little bit crowded, so if you need to fiddle around to make it less of a headache, feel free. I know some people, when they do their short row heels, also just put the heel stitches on a different set of needles. I don't do that, just part laziness, part wanting to keep all my stitches on the same needles when I knit socks. But yeah, you can always fiddle around to get them to stop bunching up so much. Alright, so I'll show you how to do the triple stitch 2 more times on the right side and on the wrong side again, and then we'll move on to the final part of this heel. So now we are going to knit across, stopping before the triple stitch we just made. Okay, I'm at the triple stitch, so same thing as before that we did with the twin stitch. We are going to knit all 3 of those loops together. Really make sure that you're getting all 3 of the loops. Knit those together and create the triple stitch. So bring the yarn forward, slip, pick up, purl, and slip all 3 loops back. And turn your work. I'll show you one more time. So we are knitting across to the triple stitch, yarn doesn't like the yarn bulletin very much. Alright, triple stitch, so we knit all 3 loops of that stitch together and then create the next triple. So yarn forward, slip, pick up, purl, slip back. And it can be a little tricky when creating the triple stitches. Like, these stitches are going to want to kind of like join their friends at the tip of your needle, so just really be mindful of where your stitches are. Maybe use your thumb to keep those in place or something like that. So I've now shown you how to create the triple stitch 4 times. I'm going to continue along, and then I will meet you back when we have 1 triple stitch remaining on either side. Alright, so here we are. We have 1 triple stitch remaining near both markers, and now all you have to do is start knitting around again. So like I said before, this bit was kind of like the end of the leg. We've done the heel, and now your foot would extend this way. So you're just going to start knitting around. Don't worry about this triple stitch yet. You'll knit it together as the first stitch of your next round. So we knit across the heel stitches. And when you do get to those triple stitches, it'll be important to make sure you have a good amount of tension in your yarn when you do knit those final 2 triple stitches together, because that'll help keep any hole at the corner of your heels from forming. It'll help close it up, and it'll help keep another hole from forming. Alright, so we're at our first triple stitch, so we're gonna knit all 3 loops together. Remember to kind of pull that stitch a little bit tight. You can remove your halfway marker at this point if you so choose. I like to keep it in place just to be ready for when I start toe decreases. So yeah, I'm just gonna slip my halfway marker, keep a good amount of tension on that stitch as I knit the stitch beyond. And as you can see, that helped keep any hole from forming in the corner there. So now we're gonna knit across the stitches that have so far been unworked as part of this heel process. So these are the stitches that of course would form the instep of the sock and rest on the top of your foot. Alright, so we've hit our beginning of round. So this is another spot where you're going to want to keep a good amount of tension on that stitch on either side of the marker, especially as you knit the final triple stitch together. There we go, no hole forming. And just like that, you will continue knitting around until you're at your final foot length. So here's how the heel looks when it's finished. There is a bit of a seam on either side, but it's not a seam that's felt. Like, the fabric feels the same. It doesn't feel like there's a ridge here on the inside, so that's one reason I really like this heel. It provides a good cushion thanks to the garter stitch, but it doesn't have like a bulky ridge here where your short rows were formed. Okay, yeah, so that's really all there is to this heel. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Like I said, The best tutorial that I've found for the stockinette version of the shadow wrapped heel is from Denise at the Earth Tones Girl here on YouTube. Yeah, so that's really all I have for you. If you want some more often, I guess, updates about my Moonrise Socks pattern and any other pattern that I put out in the future, you can follow me over on Instagram, which is at annabethkntwrthy with underscores between the words. I try my best to keep YouTube updated about various pattern happenings and releases and stuff, but I definitely update Instagram more often. So yeah, that's really all that I have for you guys today. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you liked the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I am continuing my sock machine series, Adventures in Sock Machine, with a sock machine, whatever I call it. And I am also hoping to post my first knitting update of 2024 soon. So yeah, just about wraps it up. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!